It's the president versus sports. Who's going to win?
The president, if you guys don't know, the president called out pro gamer Clitbuster for taking a knee during a Madden 2K17 game.
I do like the fact that all of our brains are collectively inextricably meshed with the random misfirings of the senile brain of this fucking simpleton.
No, dude, it's genius. He's distracting from Russia by having the same types of stupid outbursts he's had for 40 years.
To begin on this, I saw Alex Perrine had a great point this morning that I really liked, where he basically said, I think it's great that Trump has now added all sports to the ever-growing list of things his sort of retiree, angry grandpa base now can't enjoy.
Excuse me, but the Penguins are still going to the White House.
Okay,
so
hockey.
Hockey is still good.
Hockey is still okay.
This really is the opportunity for the guy who invented bun fights to come back and make some serious cash. Because what are you going to watch on Sunday if you can't watch the NFL?
Bum fights. They
Get
respect
some
the
bum
flag.
fights. They respect the flag.
They respect the flag. They respect America.
You pay them $5 and they fuck the flag.
The UFC, friend of Donald Trump, Dana White, spoke at the RNC. They have an event every year called Fight for the Troops, where they're like, yeah, you saw all your friends get blown up by IEDs in a pointless war. It's time to watch fucking Brendan Brandon take on Kurt Slob in the main event. But at Fight for the Troops, those are actually the most violent events somehow. It's pretty fucking cool. Another sacrifice our troops make for us.
So I guess like this thing began when, what is it, like Trump went to yet another political rally, sort of a campaign-style political rally in Alabama.
He's rallying support for the guy who was appointed to finish Jeff Sessions' term. He has to run for re-election. He's in a close race that he'll probably lose against absolute maniac Roy Moore.
Yeah, that's funny.
A Bush-era snake handling. I throw back to a previous generation of mentally unhinged reactionaries.
He was the one who put the 10 Commandments at the courthouse, and that was like a sort of a Bush era like controversy.
It's just so adorable. Remember when everybody was worried about a theocracy, and now it's like, no, dude, there's no theocracy. It's just gonna be a giant fucking casino with fights to the death in the fucking Coliseum. There's no fucking religion having anything to do with this.
Yeah.
God has left the building.
Like I said, so he was speaking at that rally in Alabama and used the occasion to call out NFL players who were kneeling for the national anthem.
Get that son of a bitch off the field.
Yeah, he said, I would tell the owners to get that son of a bitch off the field. The NFL players who are kneeling in solidarity with Colin Kaepernick and his ongoing protest. And then it spilled over because Steph Curry of the Golden State Warriors was sort of being like, I don't know if I want to go to the White House. The championship Warriors team, if you win the championship in a major sport, you get to visit the White House. Now, a lot of athletes are like, do we really want to go visit Donald Trump's White House? Steph Curry made some public statement that was like, I'm not so sure I want to visit Donald Trump's White House. And then someone screen capped this. Literally 20 minutes before Donald Trump tweeted his petulant, he disinvited the Warriors from coming to the White House because of what Steph Curry said. Someone screen capped this. Literally 20 minutes before Trump tweeted that, the headline on Fox and Friends,
of course,
was Golden State Warriors snub White House.
It's good to me that this is where we live now. Yeah. I like it. It's actually fun.
This is
that D-grade fucking haircuts like Steve Ducey can read off a fucking teleprompter. Some just pap that some sexually harassed minion of Roger Ailes' zombie corpse fucking had him pump out. And then this fucking senile dipshit can get riled up by it. And then everyone in America gets to talk about it.
Everybody talks about it. And then people responded to it. And then yesterday, a whole slew of NBA, like LeBron, Chris Paul, Steph Curry responded eventually.
Yeah, you can't that fucking NBA is the wokest of leagues.
Yeah, and they LeBron called him a bum and said it wasn't an honor to go to the White House until you showed up. And then
there will not be, while he's president, an NBA team will not show up there for any.
Why the fuck would they? Why the fuck would they? I think the Steelers today all stayed in the locker room for the national anthem. So clearly, more and more players.
Well, that
are
was an
responding
attempt.
To this.
That was an attempt by the coach to avoid anybody kneeling.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
But then this one fucking dipshit who's a lineman and was a troop came out and stood there by himself.
I was in the collateral murder video. You will not make me kneel. Ben, stop kneeling. And then Ben Roethlisberger's like, I was only kneeling because I dropped a hamburger.
Basically, now we get to hear, America loves its sports, and the only thing they hate when politics gets injected into their sports.
They hate it when their safe space is violated.
Yeah, absolutely.
There should be no politics in the U.S. Army presented halftime show where fucking Derek Reinhardt sings his new country anthem. Like,
what if God was a troop?
Yeah, what if God was a troop?
And then they fly a B-2 bomber over the stadium.
I'm gonna treat my daughter's boyfriend like an Arab. Like all those hit songs
when Tom Brady
that are
retires,
apolitical.
The next Patriots quarterback is gonna be a Predator drone.
I think like Matt talked about how just sort of degrading this all is for us, but I do feel bad.
It's funny.
It's like
it's funny, but it's like I feel bad.
It's
for,
we're a 300 million person long human centipede that got stitched back together, and so it's a big circle, and then the shit just shoots through it like the Large Hadron Collider until it reaches a fucking supernova, and it creates a black hole of
stupidity,
idiocy.
of just absolute idiocy.
No light can fucking escape.
To that point, Kaepernick started doing this because of police brutality against black people, and now because Trump has made this about him, every fucking lame piece of shit who yelled at Kaepernick for not voting, for taking a very firm stance about issues of racism, systemic racism of police.
And not willing to just knuckle under to the Democratic Party line. And,
Now they're like, let's all kneel. And now it's about Trump. Now kneeling is about Trump, even though it was supposed to be about this specific issue.
That is how this just idiot spectacle machinery we have now works. You have somebody in Kaepernick who wanted to draw attention to systematic racial apartheid being enforced by the law across this country, just as something that's deeply embedded in the fabric of everything that makes America what it is, from our fucking housing and income distribution and incarceration. It flows from this white supremacist framework that is reinforced first and foremost by the police. And he's trying to call attention to that. And of course, because it's a criticism of America and its deepest, ideas about itself, chud dipshits all decide that it's about the flag and the troops. And of course, they're right in a way because they're all part of the same fabric. It's all part of the same, military, police, shit hell empire. But of course, they turn
of which the NFL is like our civic pride, like expression.
It's the civic, recreational, alienated version of all of our worst martial attributes.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so they decide it's about troops in the flag.
And weird racial hierarchy,
and of
too.
course, yes. Yeah. Oh, God, they do love the draft days, and they love the combine.
Should have drafted Dan Quinn. Combine. Dan Quinn would have ended apartheid.
He's the fastest white boy ever.
He would have black boy trapped in white skin.
Yeah. Dan Quinn, if the NFL had drafted, if they hadn't listened to Lucifer Lou and drafted Dan Quinn, he would have ended racism by proving that a white boy can run faster than any black guy.
Everyone in the NFL right now would be performing the violin. And Donald Trump would step down. He would be like triple-digit orgasms. I've never seen.
How much though do you think these NFL fans who love every element of scouting and drafting would love to go to the combine with calipers?
Oh yeah,
So there's all this. Everything shitty about America is turned into a spectacle that we can enjoy, where it's all played out in sort of a simulated version. And so they get mad, but they get mad at this disrespect for the symbolic level. And of course, Trump then, who was elected by these people not to build a wall, not to stop ISIS, not to make America great again. He was elected by these people in order to yell at the football players who are being spoiled and ungrateful. That's why they elected him. Because politics is divorced from actual people's lives. It's all resentment. It's all spectacle, and it's all seeing your enemies made mad and seeing your views affirmed by some asshole who you saw on TV. So then it goes Trump, and then what does everyone else do? People who maybe were made uncomfortable by the implications of Kaepernick's protests, they decide, well, it's about this guy. And at every level, it's get further and further abstracted. It abstracts to the flag and the troops, and it gets extracted further to fucking Trump, and now it's just another fucking partisan issue that is easily sorted by which fucking team you think you're a member of. And all the while, the actual systemic racial hierarchy enforced at the point of a gun goes undiscussed. Speaking of the Korea thing, everybody's been, all we've been fucking talking about, because this is all we can talk about now, because we genuinely live in hell. We are in hell. Like, either we all died in a solar flare and we're like in a collective Jungian, post-life state where we're just destroying ourselves for eternity.
We died at the election night
or
show.
we are simulations being tormented by a mad and sadistic
by
god.
Rocco's basilisk.
Matt Rogan, baby.
It might be Rocco's basilisk. So all we've been talking about is fucking these Trump tweets about Kaepernick and about the NFL. I want to read 3 tweets in a row that he did last night. Roger Goodell of NFL just put out a statement trying to justify the total disrespect certain players show to our country. Tell them to stand. All right? Next tweet. Just heard Foreign Minister of North Korea speak at UN. If he echoes thoughts of Little Rocket Man, they won't be around much longer. Next. If NFL fans refuse to go to games until players stop disrespecting our flag and country, you will see change take place fast. Fire or suspend. He took a break in the middle of bitching about the fucking protests in the fucking NFL to threaten to kill everyone in the Korean Peninsula.
Woo!
Normal man.
I've mostly tuned out the dramatically frightening escalation of tensions in North Korea.
Well, I mean, the thing about it is
I don't know whether to take it seriously.
It's kind of scary because the way we've brilliantly structured nuclear response is that even though it is not in any interest of capital, either globally or specifically American, to have a war with North Korea, there's no gain for it. It's not something that any segment of the ruling class has any interest in seeing happen. But because we've created a system where the discretion to use nuclear weapons is really in one man's hands, it's not insane to worry that this idiot will kill us all. Some people are like, there's no way the generals would obey the orders, but they have these ingrained ideas about, the mission and all that. We don't know. But for the most part, Korea shit is like the easiest way, if you're a president, to just get everybody to not talk about whatever you're doing. Whether it's the healthcare bill falling apart or the fact that our biggest dependency in the Caribbean is without power for 6 months and basically has its infrastructure completely destroyed on the heels of a structural adjustment program that had already basically destroyed its economy. You can shake the fucking stick at Rocket Man and everyone will take a breath. So I think we don't have to worry about too much, but it is the cavalierness of it. Considering the power at his disposal is disturbing. Even if it's all bluster, it really does mean that he doesn't understand what his position means. And of course he doesn't. But seeing it so starkly
Speaking of alphas,
oh boy, here we go.
Back to school security. Of course, since we obviously can't restrict the sale or use of firearms in this country.
Oh my God! No.
The thing we have to do now, we have to do something, and the thing that at least Trump is the idea of arming teachers, right? This is going to be our solution: is to arm teachers. And one of the this is just an interesting way. This was one of my favorite things he said recently, but it's sort of indicative of the way his mind works. I'm just going to read here. It says, President Donald Trump on Thursday insisted that White House Chief of Staff John Kelly could personally stop any school shooting if he were a teacher armed with a gun. At a roundtable discussion about school violence, Trump noted Kelly was a 4-star general and a, quote, tough cookie. If he was a teacher,
and by the way, a tough cookie does cancel out a sick puppy. If you've ever played that game, that is how that works.
If he was a teacher, I wouldn't mind him having a gun, the president said, because I guarantee you he can use it better than anybody. There's not security guard that you're going to hire that's going to handle a gun better than him. So if he's a teacher and other friends of his from the Marines are teaching or other people like that, you want to give them a gun. But almost more importantly, nobody's going to attack that school, he continued, because they know General Kelly is a history teacher.
The 70-year-old man who sits down all day. John
Yeah.
Kelly.
They know General Kelly's a history teacher. He's teaching about how we win wars, okay? And he's got a concealed weapon. But they're going to know he's got a concealed weapon because we will tell them that the bullets are going to be flying in the other direction.
So that the key is to get 4-star Marine generals and former DHS secretaries to just be history teachers in America.
In public schools.
Get
First,
famous.
his
Get Elvin
tone-
York in every school.
His tone talking about General Kelly, he sounds like a cheerleader talking about her quarterback boyfriend.
Oh God!
Oh my God! If you want to make sure, when they give him the ball, forget it.
Yeah.
I mean, you could just have the whole district try to defend him. He's going to run right through. He's huge.
Yeah.
That guy. But also, he also keeps saying, "I didn't say arm all the teachers. Just a couple of them." So, in order to stop the shit, though, the guy would have to go into the specific classroom where the armed teacher is. Because he's talking about this will stop them from ever happening.
Yeah.
But all you got to do if you're that's
No, but he would see them coming and just quit them.
how would he?
Because they're
goes to
superheroes.
Marine vision.
It's almost like we live in a country where half of the fucking art, half of the popular culture is depictions of hyper competent violence.
Yes.
Carried out with ease by people. And then you watch that and you're like, yeah, that's how it goes. Everyone, it's like a guy with a gun is John Wick, not just a guy with a gun.
Oh,
And we can't process the difference. I mean, that's the thing. We are so dissociated from reality. Like Midwesterners, my people, pride themselves on values like being humble and soft-spoken, their ability to sniff out a phony, and they worship this flouncing New York fancy lad who can only say his own name.
Right.
And they can't see the phoniness to him. They can't see him, this gelatinous cube of ego, and go, oh, if a guy had a gun, he would just shit himself. He would dissolve into a puddle.
Yeah, exactly.
He would be like fucking Greg Stilson in the dead zone and grab
he'd
one of
be
the kids
holding
and put it in front of him.
Yeah, the striped tiger.
If you can't recognize that, if you can't look at him and know that immediately,
Yeah, the blue
then
tiger,
your
man.
entire, not only... You don't even have the values that you convinced yourself you do. Like, you don't even really like the things you think you like. You only like the idea of liking those things. What you really have is cultural grievance, and you worship anyone who will exemplify it and punish the people you don't like.
I mean, that hits at it because I think about all the people in the last year love this, where it's like Trump will just have a spasm, like when he called Chuck Todd sleepy eyes, and someone will be like, this is actually a slur used against Jewish people from Der Stürmer in 1933. And it's like, he probably doesn't really have a clear idea of what the Holocaust was. It's like
he gets it was bad, but he's fuzzy on the details.
Not good, folks.
He literally, they took him to Auschwitz and he's like, wow, this is a pretty bad deal.
Yeah.
You'd think the Jews could have made a better deal. I don't understand it.
Historically speaking, they're excellent deal makers. I don't know. This is a huge misstep.
And I think that there's this psychosis that goes on, and you see the same thing with Steve Bannon, where it's like, people are still so shocked that he won that they have to create this mythology about him that he's constantly winking to old Nazi propaganda.
Yeah, well, that's like a classic
doesn't
Democrat
know
move,
what's-
too, right?
Right, he
Like, you
just
lose to
watches-
some fucking oaf, and then you're just like, oh, that guy was actually a genius. Like, if you think about it.
it's like, yeah,
flatters
it's
their
like-
egos to believe that he's playing 13th dimensional chess and not dodgeball, which
Yeah.
is what he's actually.
Exactly. Like, he's just watching Brian Kilmeade for 19 hours a day, and watching the Property Brothers, and he's like, we could use those guys in the Middle East, and then just says something about like the last person that criticized him, and I think it's the equivalent of like some guy just like one shots you in a bar parking lot, and you're like, yeah, that guy was actually like a pro fighter.
At least like Bannon has the the dignity to be fucking high when he's doing that. Like Trump knows like 200 words and is constantly like just in a state of sleep deprived like mania. So there's not the idea that like any of this is strategic or that any of it is like the outgrowth of some sort of calculus on his part. Like he's been doing the same shit since I was a child.
Yeah,
He tweeted more than one tweet directly at Robert Pattinson after him and Kristen Stewart broke up. It wasn't just like a comment or a joke. He decided to advise.
Oh, yeah, he
the
put his
British
oar in on
actor
that shit.
Robert Pattinson to give him a little guidance going forward. That's that's something that he thought would be a good idea.
This is my favorite vision
yeah.
of Trump, like the 2013 like live tweeting Access Hollywood version of Trump.
yes.
Like it's just a beautiful specimen.
Well,
of,
no, you actually, I'm so glad you brought up the Kristen Stewart, Robert Pattinson thing, because in those classic tweets, and David, you write about this, he uses one of his famous stock phrases where he goes, Robert Pattinson, she'll cheat on you again like a dog. And he says the phrase like a dog is like the biggest insult to Trump. Like
Because he's a Muslim.
Yeah.
I actually kneel 6 times a day.
But in the piece, David, you write about his conception of loyalty and how, like, to him, the behavior of a dog, who are famously loyal to human beings, is disgusting to him. Or, like, his conception of loyalty. Remember when we did the Comey book and he asked, Comey said, I promise, sir, I will always give you, like, you know, my
Honesty.
honesty.
Yeah.
And he goes, yes, honest loyalty.
Indeed.
But David, like, could you talk a bit about what you wrote about, like how Trump sees loyalty, how he sees it, but also how it's reflected in the people who admire him?
Yeah, I mean, I think for him, it's about service,
Yeah.
and not like the sort of like devotion or whatever, like any of the Jim Comey visions of what service would be, which are like all. Again, it's the only vision dumb enough to lose to Trump. It's like that other understanding of it. But for him, it's like it's something that you do for your boss. You're like loyal to. There's a Donald Trump Jr. tweet that I come back to. The one about
about the groundskeeper.
Yeah, like our greenskeeper missed his sister's wedding because
His daughter's
like,
wedding.
His
Or no,
daughter's
sister's
wedding.
wedding. You're right, sister's wedding.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, he goes, he was his sister's wedding to work, and he goes, love loyalty to us.
To us, number 2. Us.
Yeah.
The little Princian flourishes for which Donald Trump Jr. is known.
Tennis coach is getting sky buried with her grandmother. I love people who really stick with us.
But yeah, I mean, that like vision of, I mean, it's just about like what loyalty is complicated, right? And I'm not an authority on that beyond the fact that I like dogs and, been married with the same lady for a long time. That like, but to me, the idea that it involves just giving yourself over entirely to your betters explains in part why the NFL protests would be disgusting to him, because it's like the owners told you not to do it, so like, why are you still doing it? Why are you being so annoying about the fact that cops keep killing people that look like you? Like, can you just like be nice about it? But like, I think that mostly it's about this idea of not to be loyal to him is to do what he says, to do otherwise, to bother him in any way, to disagree with him in any way. Like, that's not fundamentally an act of disloyalty, but it's the sort of thing where when you see yourself as the top of a pyramid and everything else existing to support you, then of course you need everything to be exactly in its right place.
He's a gelatinous tyrant.
Yeah.
I mean, like that's how he views things. Whereas I think Comey internalized the exact same ethos, but in a completely naive Boy Scout way, where he expected the service to come with some degree of dignity.
Yeah. What's weird about it for me with Trump is that he's been rich his whole life, right? He's been waited on hand and foot his whole life. I don't understand how, if you're like a small business fascist, like just like a normal Trump supporting upper middle class exurban person or suburban person, like what in that experience of his do you recognize in yours beyond the fact that you feel like you're owed more than you owe other people?
I think it boils down to customer service interactions.
Yeah.
I feel like when they see Trump, their conception of a public space, like interacting with other people in public, it boils down to being waited on, and then wanting to get what you want, and then being outraged and annoyed by those people.
Yeah.
Those
Donald Trump is a man who has sent
lowers.
back a steak for not being charred to a crisp.
Right.
Can you cook this more?
Yeah. I mean, like, fucking look at Yelp. Every psychopath on Yelp who are all complaining about service. I mean, these are the people, and that's their only interaction with their fellow people for the most part. It is a transaction in which their role as customer gives them the sense of being God, and then therefore to have any kind of defiance of that is infuriating. So Trump is just like, he is the Yelper in chief.
Yeah.
It's the ideology of the suburbs. There's no public spaces. I mean, there's no reason why you would interact with someone socially or, interact with the demos.
I want to talk a bit about something, the place we're all going to be going.
The
Going
grave?
very soon. No, even better. It's like the grave, but infinite. I'm talking space.
Oh yeah,
I'm talking
the
about
infinite abyss.
Oh, yeah.
I'm talking about the Space Force, which is
Fuck yes.
something people we like to make fun of it now because it's another one of our president's
buffoonish idiot
seemingly,
dying brain fantasies.
Things that he does and says to just sort of keep the plot line moving forward, but I get the feeling the writers are a little bit tired at this point in the run of the TV show. So now we gotta this did remind me of like during the height of the Iraq War and the insurgency, where during the State of the Union, Bush said that we're going to Mars.
Yes.
I think just space is like the final frontier because it gives perpetually ailing presidencies like a new big program to think about or do.
Oh, hold on. Stop the episode. We have to rename this episode. In space, no one can hear you lie.
Oh.
Yeah, they love space because it's big and cool, and
It's not cool though.
it's so cool. And you can find an alien out there. You can have sex
No,
with it.
you're not.
It's got green skin and multiple
It's
rows
empty.
of titties.
It's a dentist's waiting room.
No, it's
terrible.
cool. But here's the thing. Okay, you say that. You say space is boring and lame. Maybe it's a big empty abyss of absolutely nothing. And the idea of having peace there is absurd because you can't have anything other than peace there because there is nothing there. But what if you put cool guns in space? Because that's the premise of Space Force is NASA is boring, lame bullshit because they're a bunch of nerds who go up there with pocket protectors instead of AR-15s. That's it. They want to just strap some bazookas to the International Space Station and make it cool to go into space. And I say, hell yeah.
Well, space is the final frontier of like, honestly, dude, I wish somebody would fuck with me.
Yeah.
Like,
Because there's no one there.
It's obvious what this is. Like, it's obviously just like an even bigger giveaway for the defense industry.
Yeah.
But it's also, I think there's a part of the brain. I mean, Reagan started this where it's like, honestly, dude, I fucking hate the Soviet Union. That's like my worst enemy. But if somebody like came and fucked with planet Earth, yeah, dude, I would absolutely kick ass with them.
Fuck around
Fucking
and
respect
find
to
out.
them. I would fuck around and I would find out. It is like Space Force is take away the part that's the defense industry giveaway, which is 90% of it. It is 10% the core of the American psyche, which is going somewhere where nothing will happen and going like, you are so fucking lucky that there is nothing to threaten me here because I'm fucking ready.
It's alien strawmen.
Yeah, but what if like there is a like if we lived through Halo but Donald Trump is president, that's the greatest outcome. And that's probably the most likely outcome. That's like the direction everything's going in.
Can we edit in some like Halo music into the background? Like,
Yeah. Imagine like there's like a platoon of Spartans in their induction ceremony in their power armor. They're all like 7 feet tall because they're genetically augmented. And they're like, most of us will not return from this mission. It's our duty to the UNSC. And then Donald Trump just fucking stumbles out and he's like, me and Larry Silverstein on a boat. Let me tell you a story.
Ladies and gentlemen, the USS Baron Trump Gundam has exploded on the launch pad.
Yeah, Master Chief like flying into the Covenant dropship with a nuke, and instead of the famous ending of Halo 2,
famous ending.
It is a famous. It is a
That we all
famous
know and
ending to
love.
people who actually consume culture. Thank you.
It's when he defeats all the gorillas, right?
He doesn't defeat all the gorillas. And they're not gorillas; they're called brutes. But in the human parlance. But instead of like the commander asks Chief, "What do you think you're doing, Chief?" And Chief, in his iconic one of his few spoken lines, goes, "Sir, finishing this fight." But he's never even going to get to that because Trump's going to be the commander, and he's going to be like just talking about Judge Justine.
This
Justine
is
Perot.
our best chance, though, at a Luke Besson sci-fi where there's a bunch of like Rococo chandeliers and shit everywhere, and like Ryan Seacrest runs everything. I mean, that is also one of the most interesting like sci-fi interpretations. So like whatever, it could be worse. It could be better than fucking Star Wars.
Baron, Melania, multipass.
I do like the idea that
Multi-pass.
the high school graduates who join the military to get a communications degree or something are going to be shot into outer space, a place that only people with like multiple, like scientists. That's who NASA is. It's scientists.
I can't underscore this enough about outer space. It could not be less hospitable to human
It's
life.
horrifyingly dangerous. You're just going to take raw recruits and you're going to be like, good luck.
It is true,
Cold?
though. It's going to be so many
Yes.
people that just join the military for basic, like, I want to learn how to run communication systems. And
Yeah,
it's going to be
yeah,
like
good luck, buddy.
ground control to Jerry Dunk. It's gonna be it's gonna be an amazing like adjustment.
Yeah, Houston, shit's incredibly fucking gay right now. Yeah, my internet's down.
The thing I like about it is the hooting love of it by the swine fans of Trump. They love this shit. They don't even know what it means. They just hear the word force, and that gets them excited. They love power. They love authority. They love the idea of Trump asserting authority. And I want to shout out a show that we've ragged on a lot, The Daily Show, because they had an interview with a Trump supporter at a rally where they were talking about Space Force, and it was, let's laugh at the rubes stuff, classic Daily Show. But I thought that this exchange from it actually was very illustrative of the way that they are thinking about Trump in general. So they asked this lady with a Trump hat on, hey, what about Space Force? And she says, Space Force is about exploration and finding out what's out there. And the Daily Show guy replies, NASA does space exploration. And this is her response. NASA is only going to tell us what they want us to know, whereas I think Trump will send his own stuff and we will find out the truth.
Dude, yeah, he's going to send
About
his...
what?
His
Flat Earth, alien species that we've been kept from, something like that?
Yeah, I love 2001: A Space Odyssey, but it's like the protagonist is Michael Flynn Jr.
But the thing about
they're like 2001: Space Odyssey. Michael Flynn Jr. is also turning into a baby in front of our eyes.
Yeah.
But the thing about it is that this shows how they're reconciling their inveterate hatred of government, right? They hate the government. They hate every element of the government, big government bureaucracy. They hate it. But they also are they're yearning for that fascist ruler, right? Mm-hmm. They love Trump and they love the idea of him having total power. They think he deserves it because, we need to stress, they watched him on TV a lot and they like him because of that. And they think, yes, this guy should have total control over everything. And the way you can square that is that he should basically create a shadow version of every element of government that is accountable only to him. They basically want to recreate the Sun King, only have it be Donald Trump. Yeah, it's like NASA's keeping all the good space shit from us. Space Force, they're going to let us know because it's not controlled by some nerd bureaucrats. It's controlled by Trump, who likes me personally, who's my friend, because I see him on the TV and he tells me how wonderful I am.
Well, it's also about their hatred of government, but they hate the deep state and the government, and it's all become totally paranoid. But at the same time, they love the military. And it's the Space Force.
If you
part
turn
of it.
NASA into the army, then it's good.
If NASA is militarized, or like the generals are in charge of it, then I trust that that's good. Their intentions are good for the Space Force because it's the troops.
Yeah,
it's
there's that old joke about how if you wanted socialized healthcare, just turn it into the military. Give every doctor a gun, and everyone would be fine with it.
I can't wait for like the new version of 3 Doors Down Kryptonite. That's for people who lost bone density
and had their insides cooked by solar radiation.
Yeah. But I mean,
I just wanted to go to DeVry.
It's gonna be like the people now that are really into like Scarface and don't realize that Tony Soprano is bad, but like there's gonna be
or
a
the hero Scarface.
Verhoeven. There's gonna be like a Verhoeven kind of like, yeah, man, Starship Troopers is my favorite. I love those guys. It's so cool. It's kind of my hero. Like, it's
oh
gonna
god,
be
yeah, Johnny Rico, baby.
Or it's gonna be, I think the more high end version. The guy is the guy who reads Dune and is like, man, Paul rocks. This is a bunch of books about a cool guy who does the right thing.
There's going to be a lot of misspelled tattoos of Paul Atreides.
Yeah. Oh man, I need to get Michael on the misspellings of Paul Atreides. That we're gonna, but
I mean, now that we're talking about Dune, now I'm just imagining Donald Trump nude floating in a giant tank.
No, Donald
beautiful. Could you get the witch out of here? I don't want to talk in front of her.
No, he's the fetus in the monolith.
No. Trump is Duke Leto and Baron's the most
Paul
perfect
Atreides.
Paul I've ever seen.
Yeah, Baron is clearly Paul
but
Atreides.
Melania coming in.
She's a Bene Gesserit witch, obviously.
Yeah, she brings in like a computer that plays Roblox, but on a high DPI, and she's like, "No woman-born child has ever played this much."
It is perfect that Frank Herbert came up with Teacot names.
That's true. Duncan, Idaho is perfect. Yeah.
So good to be back. Good to be here with the Chapos again, back in Brooklyn, New York. It's wonderful, and I want to kick off this week's show by doing an update on the big wet president. Our wet
moist
president.
boy.
He's at it again, folks. he said, just two items have come across the news transom that I think bears discussion on the show. The first one is just a quote. I don't really even know where the context for this was or what the remarks were, but these are
this is
real
top tier.
Real,
this is really good
This
shit.
is a statement made by Donald Trump, and I'm just going to read it now. You remember Hillary with the coal, right? Sitting with the miners at the table, remember? That wasn't so good for her.
Yeah, I saw that video.
So the people of West Virginia and all over, you look at Wyoming, you look at so many different places where they just, Pennsylvania, where they loved what we did. And it's clean coal. And we have the most modern procedures, but it's a tremendous form of energy.
Not really.
In the sense that in a military way, think of it, coal is indestructible.
Yes.
Well, it's like
I'm always
You can't
saying
burn
that,
coal.
yeah.
no,
you can't do it.
If you try to destroy it, it turns into diamonds, and that's more money.
Yeah.
That's money you can spend on more
Hey,
energy.
he is right. Energy can't be destroyed.
You're right.
That's true. Thermodynamics, motherfucker.
Beautiful clean coal. I love when he talks about that.
Not a thing.
He
Doesn't
loves
exist.
beautiful
I
clean
just
coal.
so I assume that he's trying to reference when he talked about Hillary with the coal miners. He's talking about when she for some reason did a campaign event where she's like, and all coal miners will be unemployed.
Yeah.
Like she literally.
We're going to shoot them in the back of the head and bury them in a shallow ditch.
They're going to be calling me Pinkerton too, but
They're all going to be forcibly gay married.
yeah, but
I can guarantee you that none of you will be leaving Harlan County alive.
But yeah, but the way it just made it sound like she had a raucous night out with a bunch
Yeah,
of coal
she's
miners.
hanging out with coal miners.
Yeah. Which was 2008.
Oh yeah, no,
2008,
she was.
hanging out with
She
them.
had the smudged face. She wore the hard hat.
Yeah.
She was dipping for a while during the 2008 campaign. People forget that she'd be doing a speech and just hawk into a Gatorade bottle.
This was actually not the end of Trump's thoughts on energy policy.
Okay, this is going to tie it all together.
Yeah, no, he goes on. He goes. He said, in a military way, think of it. Coal is indestructible.
Yeah.
You can blow up a pipeline. You can blow up the windmills. You know the windmills. Boom, boom, boom. And then in brackets, it says mimicking windmill sound. Bing, bing, bing. And then in brackets again, mimes shooting large gun. That's the end of that one. If the birds don't kill it first, the birds could kill it first. They kill so many birds. You look underneath some of those windmills,
what?
it's like a killing field.
Wait a
the
minute.
birds. But that's where they were going to. They were going to windmills. And don't worry about when the wind doesn't blow. I said, what happens when the wind doesn't blow? Well, then we have a problem. Okay, good. They were putting them in areas where they didn't have much wind, too. And it's a subsidiary. You need subsidy for windmills. You need subsidy. Who wants to have energy where you need subsidy? So the coal is doing great.
What the?
That's okay.
Wait a minute. So he says
feeling like the white
bird-
Albert fish.
birds are going to kill windmills by being killed by windmills?
Yeah.
Is it just like they kill regular birds, but then a fucking prehistoric auk is going to show up and break it?
Many awful deals have happened where a pterodactyl will show up because of a time warp. Very bad situation. How come none of the great heroes from history show up to kill the pterodactyl? Never. We're going to make a great deal with the Chinese. They're going to do the math where they figure out the time portal. The pterodactyl, they just come in, okay, they bring you over your nice meal, you got your little Coke, you got your fry. Okay, they go, it's a living. They're always complaining, not good.
But the thing is okay. I mean, first of all, for him to say they're killing the birds and act like he gives a shit is hilarious. EPA just loosened rules is going to massacre birds. He doesn't care about birds at all. It's just a talking point. But even if you accept that, he's still saying the birds are going to kill the windmill.
They're suicide bombers.
Oh my God. But no, he hates windmills, and it's been pointed out that it's because he had a big fight with a windmill farm project in Scotland that was going to fuck up the view for his shitty fucking golf course. And so that, of course, sticks in his head, and that's the only thing he knows about windmills is that they fuck up his golf course.
Hey, you know where there's not a lot of wind? The North Atlantic.
Yeah, not at all. Yeah.
Trump is our Don Quixote, and he's jousting at just the concept of windmills, and he's like he needs to bed a maiden, which just means he chases her. They chase each other around a room, and he's like, "All right, now we're gonna have sex. You're gonna blow raspberries on my belly." Another great deal. Another great deal.
Matt, was it you? Was something there's the Dollop episode about when sailors found the island full of puffins, and they just
massacred them. They like in a comic. Like in a cartoon, they stuff them into a giant grease machine to turn them into lamp oil.
Yeah, they rendered every single puffin on this island.
Yeah.
Which honestly, if you told Trump that you could have
would love
species
it.
into a
He'd be
blast furnace.
fantastic with it.
He would be 100% in favor of that. But this shit about the birds and just the cadence and like halting, stopping, is it libelous to say? I mean, like, I suppose I have to say allegedly, but like, he has tertiary syphilis.
Yeah.
Like this is like when Al Capone was fishing in his swimming pool. Like this is
Well, I mean, you say that, and the thing is, there have been these really disturbing shots of his face with these really fucked up looking lesions on his cheeks that people have said with medical expertise that looks like syphilis. So he might have it. I mean, it's hard to imagine a human being in the 21st century with fucking syphilis, since you could cure it with a shot of fucking penicillin.
he has that in common with our founding fathers.
I brought it back. It's great. Okay, everyone said they didn't like AIDS. Okay, very bad. I got the one before it.
But I mean, I could understand it if like we know his doctor, that like fucking Lebowski ass motherfucker who he pays in like fucking, Dave and Buster's gift cards or something. Who knows if he actually is honest with him, and maybe he's not going to come back if I tell him he's riddled with venereal diseases. So I'm just saying, looking good, champ. You're doing great.
Trump has all the diseases that are in David D's illustrations. And, like, InfoWars. He's like the only guy who's drank enough Diet Coke to get Morgellons and shit. Like,
Yeah,
he's the
he's
only one in the world.
He just runs up onto the tarmac with the chemtrails planes with his mouth open and just breathes it in. Fantastic. It's like, I feel like a superhero.
I have
I've got all the vitamins and crucial alloys.
I've got all the deal vapor. It's just like he's the like there is gonna come out scientists are gonna be like, well, okay, like Morgellons and shit, it's real and chemtrails are real, but you would have to ingest like an inhuman amount. It's like overdosing on pot. It's like almost physically impossible. And just cut to Trump just like IVing Diet Coke and being like, this is awful. They don't like me talking about it, but it's terrible. It tastes like garbage. I'll still drink it. I'll still take it intravenously. And he just has like a manifestation of Morgellons growing out of his back, a Quato.
Just made of plastic.
Jared, you've been replaced.
But back to the chemtrails and his decaying brain. Another interesting factoid about Trump is that he's an asbestos truther.
Yeah.
That he thinks that like when they found out that asbestos causes cancer in like the 70s and took it out of all the buildings, like he thought that was a conspiracy.
And now he's
was
bringing it
made
back.
up.
We're bringing
and he
back
said,
asbestos, folks.
Didn't he have some quote about how the Twin Towers blew up because there was not
They
enough
took the asbestos
in it?
out,
Yeah,
which is
exactly.
not true. There's tons of asbestos in the Twin Towers, and that's why a lot of people got sick.
Yeah.
But the reason he thinks it's a scam is very telling. He thinks that asbestos was made up by the mafia because mob-controlled companies were the ones who removed all the asbestos from the city
That's
buildings.
true in New York. Yeah.
Right. And so since he interacted with it that way, he's like, it's a scam. It's the same way that he says that global warming is made up by the Chinese in order to make America less competitive.
Cui bono.
Because he views world, there is no underlying truth. There sure as fuck isn't an underlying morality. There are just different groups trying to get one over on each other. So if somebody tells you something, it's not because there's scientific fact behind it. It's because they have something to gain. His brain is like, it's dying, and it's mostly chicken nuggets at this point, but it is like been honed and molded into this perfect capitalist mechanism where he only views the world through these interactions and through gain. And that's the only truth there is.
He's a quintessential American.
Yes. No, he is. He is the only person who can be president now.
No, I was thinking about this weekend. I mean, I feel like we returned back to this, but again, I was just having like, wedding conversations with stuff. And I remember telling someone
Plastics.
Plastics. Yeah, talk about Morgellons. But no, I really think that like if America has finally got a president that we deserve, that is like that really represents everything that this country is about, and it's probably going to destroy us as a result of
Well,
that.
the thing is, how do you go after this? You can't top it. This is why I was talking about the freaky, like the chilling thought of like moving beyond this thing that all of our cultural and economic and social vectors we're moving towards. It is a rent horizon. It's a fucking eschatology. And how do you go beyond that? How do you go through the wormhole and come out intact?
or where we're going, we won't need eyes, man.
Yeah.
We won't need ears.
We won't
for
need eyes to
podcasts
see. I
either.
mean, fuck.
I hear what you're all saying. You're saying about, the ice caps, no cap, The manifestation of capitalism, what comes after this, the cultural, political, and civil degeneration of America. But have you ever thought about how many people would have died in 9/11 if there wasn't asbestos in the towers?
It's true.
So, like, what if he's right?
Yeah, it would have saved countless lives.
Yeah.
Moving on. This is item number 2. This is a story that got a lot of burn in the Daily Beast by Asawin, and I gotta say, as a movie pedant myself, who likes nothing more than arguing about movies in an insufferable way, this one I really felt. I was like, I relate to this.
Well, I mean, you relate to everyone else in the room.
Yeah.
And you're like, how did you not just scream into his stupid face?
This is headline: Trump and Omarosa had a, quote, fucking weird fight with Vietnam vets. As if having Omarosa heading up veterans issues wasn't strange enough, President Trump started arguing with Vietnam vets about napalm and Agent Orange.
Let me guess, they were sore losers again.
So, reading here, it says, during this White House meeting, certain details of which have not been previously reported, the president managed to again annoy and confuse U.S. war veterans, this time by getting into a bizarre, protracted argument with Vietnam war vets present about the movie Apocalypse Now and the herbicide Agent Orange. The meeting included President Trump and the envoys of nearly a dozen major vets groups, including the American Legion, blah, 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 and the right-leaning Concerned Veterans for America, as well as senior
Any
staffers.
Swift boat veterans in there?
Probably. John Kerry was there as well.
Really? Oh, man. I will not be in the same room with this
No, he wasn't there.
pre-eater.
John Kerry wasn't there. He was having a Wendell's hamburger at the time and enjoying the films of Francis Forded Coppola.
He will not watch any director who has a vowel at the end of his name.
No, yeah.
John Kerry watches movies from 1908 that's like The Pleasant Bicycle Ride.
The president began going around the room asking the different representatives of what they were working on and how his administration could help, having made veterans issues a cornerstone of his 2016 campaign rhetoric. Again, what I love about the story that's being related here is all of these fucking Vietnam veterans groups. I'm sorry, and they're all right-leaning. These are all right-wing. Like, these are all people who, like, we won the war, but the politicians lost it.
Yeah.
Like, these are people.
And they're ginned up by these con artists who tell them that there are POWs that we didn't get.
Yeah,
and all that crap.
Yeah, all the like resentful Vietnam vets, they're the most. They really spawned the psyche of the modern reactionary right wing millennial and Gen X man, which is like, dude, you're so fucking lucky my friends held me back. That started with Vietnam vets. It really did. It's like, man, you are so fucking lucky you killed a bunch of us and we had to leave. Dude, if we were better at wars, oh my fucking God, we would have killed you, dude.
No, whatever. Like,
If we used our big bomb that only one other country has, oh my fucking God, dude. You were so lucky we didn't murder everyone in your country. You're lucky that my friend crashed his plane all those times. Oh my fucking God.
Like, these are the type of, when you see these types, sort of grazing around America's exurbs and airports with, like, the hat with, like, the gold laurels on the brim, or the shirt that's like, frequent flyer, thousands of miles served, Operation Rolling Thunder, Whenever I see those shirts, like the Vietnam vet shirts, it always reminds me of, like, when you see those kids in, like, Haiti or somewhere that gets the T-shirts of the losing team in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, it's so great because the wars after that, Grenada and Panama and the first Gulf War is just like, it's just like the Warriors drafted LeBron and they're like, NBA champs again, baby. Let's go. Dude, we did it. We beat the Clippers.
So, all right, here we go. So it says, soon he got Rick Weidman, co-founder of Vietnam Veterans of America, and who was one of the Vietnam vets in the room that day, having served a tour of duty in 1969 as a medic.
Nice.
Trump famously avoided military service in the disastrous war, ostensibly due to bone spurs, and had once said his prolific sex life was his own personal Vietnam. By the way, whenever like libs bring up the fact that Trump dodged the draft, I'm like, why are you highlighting the one normal human thing about Trump?
Yeah, that was a very smart thing to do. I mean, I gather, it's easy for him as this, incredibly rich kid who can just hide in a fucking university. But no, that's any rational person would have done that.
They always get riled by hypocrisy. All these troops love him, and he was too cowardly to actually fight.
Yeah,
but that should tell you something about the fucking troops.
Yeah, that's
not him.
The problem is with them.
Yeah, I mean, and then they always like brag that Robert Mueller served in Vietnam, and it's like, oh yeah, he really looks cooler here. the guy who just has a panic attack anytime he sees like a tiki torch from now on for the rest of his life, as opposed to Donald Trump, who spent the 70s, making deals,
get
being
laid.
cool.
Yeah.
He kissed so many belly buttons in the 70s. Got laid all the time.
According to two sources in the room who requested anonymity, this is when things went off the rails. During the course of the meeting, Weidman brought up the issue of Agent Orange, an extremely notorious component of the U.S. herbicidal warfare on Vietnam. Weidman was imploring the president and his team to permit access to benefits for a broader number of vets who have said they were poisoned by Agent Orange. Trump responded by saying, "That's taken care of," according to people in the room. His reply puzzled the
Comically
group.
dusts hands.
Attendees began explaining to the president that the VA had not made enough progress on the issue at all, to which Trump responded by abruptly derailing the meeting and asking the attendees if Agent Orange was, quote, "that stuff from that movie." He did not initially name the film he was referencing, but it quickly
Grandpa's in the horseradish again.
but it quickly became clear as Trump kept rambling that he was referring to the classic 1979 Francis Ford Coppola epic Apocalypse Now, and specifically the famous helicopter attack scene set to Ride of the Valkyries. Sources present at the time tell the Daily Beast that multiple people, including Vietnam War veterans, chimed in to inform the president that the Apocalypse Now set piece he was talking about showcased the U.S. military using napalm, not Agent Orange. Trump refused to accept that he was mistaken and proceeded to say things like, "No, I think it's that stuff from that movie."
God. How can anyone have a conversation with this guy without punching him in the face?
I'm on
Just
Trump.
reading this is infuriating.
No, I'm on Trump's side here. He's arguing. The guy he's arguing with him is it's called a mag, not a clip.
No, they're two completely different things.
Who
One
cares?
is a
It's a
defoliant,
movie.
the
It
other
didn't
one.
happen.
He says, "I love the smell of napalm in the morning." That's a line in the
Okay,
goddamn
it's a
film.
Fucking made up fictional movie. You're talking about two fictional weapons.
Actually, I'm going to correct Asawin here because the famous Ride of the Valkyries scene was the helicopter attack on the village, did not actually feature napalm. The famous napalm scene in Apocalypse Now is the very opening scene set to the Doors. This is the end that shows a tree line igniting in a burst of Philly gasoline.
That movie tries to trick you. It starts out with a song saying this is the end. It's the beginning. Then he tried to fool you. I watched the entire movie. My
The thing
first
is,
try.
the real thing is he thinks they're the same thing. He doesn't know what either of them is, and in his head, it's the same thing. That's what it boils
Listen
down
to this. He
thinks it's the same.
then went around the room polling attendees about it if it was in fact napalm or Agent Orange in the famous scene from that movie. As the gathering, organized to focus on sometimes life or death issues for veterans, descended into a pointless debate over Apocalypse Now, the president simply would not concede despite all the available evidence. Finally, Trump made eye contact again with Weidman and asked him if it was napalm or Agent Orange. The VVA co-founder assured Trump, as did several before him, that it was in fact napalm, and he said he didn't like the Coppola film and believed it to be a disservice to Vietnam War veterans. According to two people in attendance, Trump then flippantly replied to the Vietnam vet, "Well, I think you just didn't like the movie," before finally moving on.
Remember when Obama said corpseman instead of corpsman to refer to a Marine medic, and these guys all shit their pants until they died of dehydration and blood shot out of their fucking noses? This guy spent an entire meeting where they're supposed to be talking about these underserved veterans, lecturing a bunch of Vietnam veterans, a war he didn't fight in, about a movie that he got wrong.
What I love about
Jesus
this does have a perfect echo with one of my favorite ongoing bits on Tim Heidecker and Greg Turkington's On Cinema, where Greg keeps insisting that Star Trek II was the one set in San Francisco.
Yeah.
And then during Heidecker's trial, he gets the director of the film, Nicholas Meyer, to testify that the beginning took place in San Francisco, only a few scenes.